Here's Survivor, Chapter 31, entitled Revenge. She took a taxi to Victoria Station. She knew it was full of perverts and weirdos, ready to pounce on unsuspecting young innocent visitors, whose eyes were full of dreams as they first set foot onto the golden streets of London, to be swept up into a nightmare and never seen again. She watched the buses pass by in the rain and the tramps huddled in the doorways, illuminated by their cigarettes. The biggest mistake people made is thinking all the dangerous people looked odd, when most of them looked like the man or woman next door. They were hiding in plain sight. They could be your boss or the bank manager or the friendly vicar down the road, especially the vicar, she thought, smiling. She drank her coffee slowly and waited for the men to come to her like flies. They were so predictable. All the men in the pub turned and watched her as she drank alone. She was the spider and they were the fly. She felt the knife cold against her, hiding in the folds of her leather jacket. She was prepared for any eventuality and she knew she had the upper hand. After about an hour of people watching, she decided to walk home. She was still shaken up by the day's events and needed to walk some of the stress away. The wind was blowing in her face, and she put the scarf over her mouth. Couples passed by her looking happy and without a care in the world. Her heart burned with anger. What had she done to deserve such a loveless life? She'd had enough of life's unfairness. At least now she had a nice apartment to go back to, she thought. But it wasn't enough. She wanted more from life. She saw a tramp sitting on a blanket and she looked in her purse for a few pennies. She threw the change in his hat. Thank you, he said with a toothless grin. All around, couples were sat in restaurants, eating beautiful meals in beautiful surroundings. It was hard not to be envious, and she felt so lonely and lost, and was so wrapped up in her own misery that she didn't see or hear the man who was following her. He'd been watching her over his newspaper in the pub, and he'd reasoned she may be a prostitute. He was frustrated and he needed sex, and he wasn't going to take no for an answer. She was so tired from the day's events that she sat down on a bench to rest and gather her thoughts. The man sat next to her and offered a cigarette. Sorry, she said firmly, I don't smoke. Cool, he replied, that's sensible. It's a horrible habit. She didn't respond to his attempts at conversation. She'd had enough of male weirdos.